What's up, softball players? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let's talk about different ways that bad luck impacts fast pitch pitchers and ways that you can mentally get past this. So understanding the whole scope of luck in softball is really important because you can easily get really pissed off about it. You can get mad at your fielders, you can get mad at yourself. And being a good pitcher, especially long-term, and getting recruited and playing at higher levels means having that sort of stoic demeanor where it's not a big deal when you don't pitch your best and you're out there and things aren't going your way. Coaches want to see that you can ride those rough seas out and keep pitching and keep your team in the game. So today, let's talk about luck, some of the ways that you get kind of screwed over by bad luck in softball, and how you can mentally get past it. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan Blewett. I do tons of videos on softball throwing mechanics, arm care, strength training, the mental side of the game. So be sure to subscribe below. Check out my online courses if you want to improve your game, whether you're parent, player, or coach. In today's video, let's talk about luck. Number one, this is an interesting one that I like talking about. It's the sequencing of your inning. You can get, think of it this way. In an inning, you give up 2 singles and 1 home run. How many runs have you given up that inning? It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 1, right? So single home run means you gave a 3-run homer and you gave 3 runs. Single home run, that's a 2-run homer, and then a single means you gave 2 runs. Home run, single was a solo home run, and that means you gave up 1 run. So did one pitcher, so if you had 3 pitchers who had each of these different outcomes, did one pitcher pitch better than the other for giving up only 1 run than the other ones who gave up 2 runs and 3 runs? They all gave up a home run and 2 singles. So what was the difference? The fact of the sequencing of the inning, the 2 singles to load, to load those runners on base, and then the home run obviously is a 3-run homer. So look, as a pitcher, coaches will yell at you and say, oh, you got to pitch tougher when there's runners on base, but you really can't. You really can only pitch as well as you can pitch. And a home run is a home run. It's one individual act. The fact there's runners on base doesn't really matter except for the sense of, obviously, it hurts you on the scoreboard a lot more. It puts that crooked number up. But the big takeaway is that as a pitcher, you don't have a way to control the sequencing of it. You can't just magically always get runners out when there's, the base is jammed, and you can't magically, throttle it down when there's not. You're not going to be able to control the different outcomes. You can only control one individual bat at a time. So those sequences of events, they're just sort of a luck, a good or bad luck kind of situation that you don't really have control of. So it's important to understand that, again, you could give up a single and then a home run, or you give a home run and then a single, and the outcome's very different run-wise. And over the long haul of the season, that's going to change your ERA, your statistics, all that stuff. So just be aware that you probably didn't pitch as bad as you felt like if you get more runs one time rather than less. Okay, so the next thing, your team, your defense. All teams are different. Lots of times those ground balls, because your shortstop doesn't have that much range or your second baseman doesn't have that great of range, sometimes ground balls that should become outs become hits. And you just have to learn to deal with that over time. It's just the fact that, look, I'm going to keep pitching. I'm going to do my best to get weak contact, to get hitters out quickly, to make the best pitch that I can. And it's going to be up to your fielders. You might play with an amazing team that has amazing defense, and they can just get you an extra couple outs every single game, and that happens. I've had shortstops and second basemen and outfielders who save me runs consistently because they'll run down a ball that should be a double or it should be a single. And then you're going to have the opposite, where your teammates are just not that fast behind you, and they're just going to let balls that could be easy outs become hits. It's just something to remind yourself of. Control what you can control, and don't worry about your fielders who, even if they're a little slow, don't have great range, they're still doing their best to prevent runs for you. All right, the next 2. So obviously field conditions are not within your control, and bad hops and batted balls, like where they go, is not in your control either. So I know a lot of times people think, oh, get a ground ball, like induce a double play. You can't really control what the hitter does, right? If you throw a ground ball or if you throw a pitch in the bottom of the zone, a hitter's probably more likely to hit a ground ball on it because it's low. Or if you throw an off-speed pitch where they're leaning, they're probably more likely to put it on the ground. But you can't control what they do. The hitter could still stay back and just lift it and put it in the outfield, and you don't get the double play that you want or whatever. So you don't have control over where the ball goes after it leaves your hand. That's really important to understand. You can make the best pitch you can, but you don't have control over the outcome after that point. The hitter's going to hit it, and then it's going to bounce according to physics and all that other stuff. All that's out of your control. So the fact that one ground ball could go right to your shortstop and become a game-ending double play for you, or that same ground ball could be 4 feet to the left through no fault in your own, and it's not like the hitter did that out of skill, and it goes through the hole for the game-winning single. Again, you get rewarded with claps and applause and praise, and you get out of the inning for that hard hit ground ball that goes right your shortstop and becomes a double play. But that same hard hit ground ball, again, goes up the middle, or it goes through the hole on the right side and it becomes a single. So it's not really like the quality of the hit where a lot of times it becomes a single or an out. It's really just the placement of it. And a lot of players just don't understand that. They get pissed when they give a hit, but it's the same ground ball that becomes a double play if it's just 4 feet to the left. And again, the hitter didn't control. The hitters aren't up there like placing it and punching it through the hole intentionally. They're just up there swinging and trying to, do their thing, but they don't control that. So just remember that. And the other thing is field conditions. It might rain one day. You might play on a terrible field, and your fielders might have a really tough time with just random hops, really hard fields where the ball takes a hop they're just not used to. You can't control that stuff either, so you can't get mad at them when just like, man, that ball would have been an out, but it hit off the plate and it was so hard because the ground is so hard. It took such a big hop and the girl beat it out. That stuff's just going to happen. It's up to you to then make the next big pitch and try to help your team dig out of it. All right, the last two. So the next one, mental. Obviously, like mental mistakes, they usually go in the scorebook as hits, right? So if your outfielder just loses it in the sun and it falls and it doesn't touch your glove, they're going to score to hit. If a ball goes over your second baseman's backpedaling on a blooper and should have caught it, but it just falls, it's going to go down as a hit. If your shortstop grabs a ground ball, fields it cleanly, throws it cleanly to first base, but just maybe she took too long, just like thought she had more time than she did, and the runner beats it out because of that mental error of her taking too long, that's also a hit, right? So anytime a ground ball or a fly ball drops without being touched, it's a hit, which is such a dumb scorebook rule. It makes no sense. It should be discretion. And again, lots of times when your fielders just like do the wrong thing but don't actually like drop the ball, that becomes a hit. Those mental errors, those stink, but they hurt you. They hurt your ERA. They can cause you to get a loss in the scoreboard on the scorebook. And again, you have to just deal with those. Your teammates are always doing their best, so you have to keep that in mind. Now, that's not to say that they don't need a reprimand by their coach, or a player on your team needs to say, hey, you need to step it up. You should have known where that ball was going to go, whatever. You have to go through your pre-pitch and your between-inning checklists of mental stuff like, hey, what do I do if it's hit here? What if I do if it's hit to me in this situation? X, Y, and Z. That's what high-level players do. That's why you don't see many mental mistakes at the highest level. And the game does weed players out who make mental mistakes. You can only make so many mental mistakes before a coach doesn't want to put you out there anymore, before a college coach comes and watches and says she just doesn't have it to play at the next level. So it does get weeded out, but it's frustrating, and you do just need to have some compassion about it. Understand that players are still doing their best, even when their best just isn't good enough. And then the last thing here is being a reliever. So obviously starting pitchers pitch a lot more complete games in softball than they do in baseball. And lots of teams with stud starting pitchers are going to pitch lots and lots and lots of full games. But if you do come in as a reliever, understand that you might get a really tough draw a lot of times where you're going to come in and pitch to the middle of the lineup, and then you're going to have to pitch the middle lineup, 2 innings later, where your day was a really tough go, or you might just come in and pitch to 1 through 4 and the game's over. So understand that as a reliever, you might get to pitch to the worst hitters of the team. Like if you're just, if the starting pitcher gets pulled after the number 5 hitter, and now you get to pitch 6, 7, 8, 9, that's a nice draw, right? You get to pitch to the worst hitters on the team. But you can also get the opposite, which is, okay, we just pulled the starter after the 9-hole hitter, and now it's your turn to pitch, and you got to face the top of the lineup. And if you do that consistently, you could be like, man, the last 10 outings, I've pitched only to the top of the lineup like every time. So it's like I'm pitching to the 4-hitter every inning, the 3-hitter every inning. And it makes it just tougher to pitch because you're pitching to better hitters consistently, right? And that's just part of the game. But you do want that, obviously. You want that responsibility. So just keep that in mind, too, that if it seems like you're getting kind of an unlucky draw, always pitching to the best hitters on the other team to get your team out of a jam, just keep it in mind that that's what you want. You want your team to rely on you because that means they feel confident in you. They look upon you very highly. and they want you in there when the game's on the line, okay? So hopefully today's video helped. It's really important just to understand that there's a ton of luck in softball and baseball. It's just the way the sports are built. You don't control where the ball goes, bad hops, mental errors. There's just so much stuff at play that's just not the same as other sports, where in soccer, where you kick it is where it goes, right? In basketball, it's your shot when you take it. In softball, it's just much different than that. And especially as a pitcher, you have to be mentally tough, give your teammates a break, be compassionate, understand everyone's doing their best, and just try to refocus and control the things that you can control, which is executing the next pitch to the best of your ability and then repeating that for every pitch in the game. That's really your job, all right? Thanks for watching. Be sure to share this with a friend, and I hope this video on softball pitching strategy and the mental game was helpful to you.